Ladies and gentlemen, there is a flex of authoritarian power on display throughout the world right now. It's really spearheading itself in Australia. And so tonight I want to point at that and talk about what's going on. Because if you look, we've all heard some rumors. If you look, you'll see that the media has put out a lot of fluff pieces about travelers returning to Australia. And, actually there is a story saying that these quarantine hotels were a terrible idea. The guards were insufficiently trained. And so all of the cases now are stemming from them. And then there's some fluff pieces about, I've been in my 5-star hotel for 14 days and my facial mask and blah, blah, blah. But what we're not hearing is that even within Australia, people are being arrested by armed police, by the Western Australia Police Force, and taken there. Tonight I want to share a story from an individual named Jim. Jim drives a truck and was returning from Victoria to his home in Perth when he was stopped at a COVID-19 checkpoint and asked to submit a blood sample, to give biological everything, to give up his data for a COVID-19 test. Jim politely declined and went on his way. Days later, he received at home this letter from a woman named Karen. And Karen says down here that she has given this piece of paper, which she calls a direction. And she's giving him a direction because she suspects Jim of having COVID-19. Now, that is something that Karen obviously could say of anyone. Who is Karen anyway? Well, Karen Lopez is an emergency officer authorized by the chief health officer to exercise emergency powers. I just want to be pretty clear when we call out this language that they're invoking here. I'm an emergency officer. I'm invoking emergency powers under the emergency declaration. This is temporary. None of this is real. It's all emergency. People are really lulled into this sense of a suspended disbelief. It's just like watching a movie for a time. And that's a dangerous place for people to go in a situation like this, where they are lulled into this sense that things will return to the normal. Ladies and gentlemen, these are permanent losses of our liberties that we're experiencing right now. This is not a movie we're watching. You need to believe what you're seeing, and what we're seeing is amazing. So what is it that Karen asks Jim to do? Well, medical examination. Number 1, you must undergo a test for COVID-19. It comprises the taking of samples. We want your blood. We want your information. In fact, number 2, serology testing. Not going to be useful. You can only use the wildly inaccurate tests with huge false positives. You can only our tests. You see how this works? We're giving you a direction, an order, and you will comply, and you will take only our tests. And here's the penalty, page 2. The penalty and enforcement of our direction. It is an offense for you to fail to comply with our direction. We will charge you $20,000. And please also note that if you do not comply with my direction, says Karen, reasonable force may be used to ensure your compliance. Signed, Karen, August 13th. Jim was nonplussed at this direction, to say the least, and didn't respond to it. And days later, was surprised to hear police climbing over the back fence of his backyard. They were entering his backyard without permission, without a warrant, and they came to his back door, and they also came to his front door at the same time to make sure that they got him, like a SWAT team style movement. But obviously these aren't full SWAT teams, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and say that this was a SWAT team. But it is certainly the case that armed police, this is the Western Australia Police Force there in Perth, came to Jim's house, performed SWAT-like maneuvers to ensure that they took him. And they took him right away, under duress, in front of his family. They carted him off to this hotel, whereupon he received a second letter that says, number 1, you can disregard that first letter. Number 2, you must remain inside your allocated room here at this hotel, where the windows only open this far, and we'll give you food that we procure for you until these directions expire on the 26th. Jim remains there now, 13 days later. And here's page 2 of that. Some important information. You must immediately inform authorities at this hotel if you develop a fever or you have other symptoms. Although it may not be COVID-19, this is all to keep you safe, to keep everyone safe. Signed, Commander Stephen Mayberry, Detective Senior Constable of the Western Australia Police. By the way, this time note that it's a 12 months imprisonment, not a quarantine, imprisonment, and $50,000 fine if you escape. If you escape, listen to the word I accidentally used there. That is a slip. If you actually go as a free man, if you fail to comply with their illegal order to stay in your hotel room. This is insane. This is the march of tyranny, and it is happening around the world, and this is a highly visible demonstration of it in Australia. And Jim asked that I share this, and I want to get the word out as well, because I think if we can all see this, if we can see what's going on, then people will say, this is unacceptable. This has gone too far. And we'll actually get a response. We'll actually push back against the tyranny, which is the only way it will ever stop. Okay? They're not going to roll it back. This is not a temporary emergency. This will continue until we stop it. The amount of tyranny you live under is exactly that you will tolerate. I have put up a thread with all of these documents, again, because I want them to be available to you so that you can show people what's going on, about Jim's story about armed police coming to his family's home, taking him away at gunpoint under duress to a hotel where he's been locked away for the last 13 days now. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming around the world right now. This is a global flex of authoritarian power. And they are flaunting it and making sure that everyone knows that this is where we are now. Again, the further they can push this envelope without any resistance from people, why would they ever stop? They have full license to keep going, to keep imposing all of the agendas we've been covering here on the Ice Age Farmer channel, not just the complete takeover and replacement of natural food, but the digital currency. We also saw news that Australia was getting rid of bank branches and getting rid of their ATMs, because why not? We're just going to go full cashless now anyway. You don't need bank branches anyway. Soon you'll have your chip. So it's just astounding. Australia really looks like the testing grounds right now for a lot of this, to see how people react as they push forward in the COVID 1984 new world. We can't let this happen, folks. Please, again, spread the word. That's the most important thing. There's been a crazy week here, but an informative one. I've been through a bunch of wildfire evacuations this week, and it was amazing. It was amazing, watch this, to see how people came together. They emerged from parts of the forest we didn't even know there were people in, and they had their trailers on their trucks, and they piled hundreds of goats and thousands of chickens and stacks of beehives, and we all got everything out of the way of this fire. And it was amazing to see all kinds of different people with different beliefs and different ideologies. They usually wouldn't even get along or look at each other, or who knows. Didn't matter. None of that mattered, because we had a mountain to move. And nobody said, that's impossible, we can't move. No, we just all walked over and we did it. And it worked. And we got all those animals out and all those people out safely, and no one was hurt in the Jones fire. And that's amazing. And I'm wholly confident. It just was so remarkable to see people come together like that. It was the true spirit of humanity invoked in that moment. And I really just want to see when the threat is visible like that, people come together. And so if we share this information and these documents that I've posted here at twitter.com/iceagefarmer, and we make this threat as visible as the smoke from a wildfire, then we can come together and we can overcome it too. Thanks for spreading the word to help do that. Be well, folks.